bending, broken rule. Hound dog howling, bullfrog croaking. Everything is broken.
Hi, and welcome to Dad's Divorce Live. My name is Rick Ortiz with DadsDivorce.com. Today we're talking custody with Gary Direnfeld. He is a social worker from Ontario, Canada, and he is considered by the courts in Ontario as an expert on child development, parent-child relations, marital and family therapy, custody, and access recommendations. And today we're going to talk to Gary a little bit about an article that he wrote that we're going to be posting at the bottom of this article. And you'll be able to follow the link to read Gary's article on 50-50 residential arrangements and how they may cause difficulties in a relationship that people aren't seeing because they're latching onto this 50-50 parenting plan buzzword. Gary, welcome.
Hello, it's great to be here with you, Rick.
Well, thanks for being here with us. And Gary, let me just open it up to you right away. And let's talk a little bit about the underlying subject behind the article.
Okay, first of all, in your header you talked about this being a custody discussion. No, in fact, it's a residential discussion. Okay. Custody refers to how the decisions are made that affect the children with the parents. Residential, when we talk about the residential issues, we're talking about under which conditions do the children live with one or other parent. And so in view of that, some parents wind up having a fight over the residence of their children. And in that fight, they may be seeking what they call 50-50. It's as if they want to cut the kids in half. I want my piece, you get your piece, and it had better be even Steven. And so as soon as people start talking about 50-50, they have lost sight of the children. They're fighting over the child as property. The problem with that is life, being what it is, doesn't always cut neatly in two. So rather than thinking about 50-50, I talk about parents having to make more rational decisions. And it's all with a view to how do I have an enjoyable, reasonable, meaningful relationship with my children? And so rather than looking at 50-50, we say, what are the issues in the life of this children? What are these children's needs? They got to get to school. They got to get to extracurricular activities. I have my work schedule. My ex has my ex's work schedule. And so how can we more rationally build a residential system around all these needs?
So dispensing with the whole 50-50 concept, let's look at what should a parent who's getting a divorce, how should they begin to advance the needs of their child when they start sitting down to discuss custody and residential arrangements with their soon-to-be ex-spouse? What do you bring to the table to start that discussion?
Well, to start with, typically when parents are first separating, both parents have a dire fear that they're going to lose the 100% relationship with their children. And so from that, they may cling to this 50-50 notion that if I have my child at least 50% of the time, I'll at least have half of a relationship with my kids. And what I explain to parents is, why have a half relationship with your child? What you really want is a 100% relationship with your child for the time the child is in your care. And you want that relationship to be meaningful. So let's concentrate on what is meaningful. Feeding your child when your child's hungry, changing the diapers when they need changing, having a bit of face time with your child, making sure they're getting their schoolwork done when they have schoolwork, making sure they get to and from school, making sure they get to their extracurricular activities, having a bit of recreational time with your son or daughter. These are meaningful activities. And from the child's perspective, it becomes less of an issue of how much face time I get with you and how much face time I get with you, than that their relationship has that meaningfulness with the parent. So if the parent gets sidetracked into the 50-50 and then they get angry over not being able to make that schedule work because it's so artificial, then these parents are embroiled in their fight with each other. And when they're with their children, they're not with their children 100%. They're busy saying, I'm so tired with the other half, and I'm so tired with the other half. Well, we'd have more fun together if your ex would let me. This time, from the child's perspective, this isn't meaningful. This is angry. This is hostile. This is begrudging. And so it's difficult for the child to enjoy anything in this relationship with that parent. So back off from that precipice. Whatever time you do have, you have to make sure that you enjoy it and not contaminate it by this artificial 50-50.
For a father who's getting a divorce, and he's listening to what we're talking about right now, and he's considering what you're saying, and he's afraid that if he goes in asking for anything less than half, that he's going to get an awful lot less than half. In other words, that they're going to think, well, this guy isn't fighting for half, so it's not that important to him. I think a lot of these fathers have that fear that if they don't fight for every last bit...
Right. Don't worry about fighting for half. Worry about fighting for, you know what, I want some opportunities to put our children to bed as well.
Right.
I want some opportunities to get our children up in the morning and get them to school as well. So concentrate on what are the meaningful activities, and then let's sort out when do those occur and how can we both share in the enjoyment and the responsibility of that. It's a very different discussion than 50-50. When you start fighting for the moment and the 50-50 in the moment, you lose sight of what I call the end game. The end game is a lifelong relationship with your son or daughter, with your children.
Right.
Those couples who get caught up in the 49-51 or the 40-60 or even the 30-70, these children grow up disgusted by the conflict between their parents. By the time they become adults, they say, you know what, Mom and Dad, you have made my life a living hell the whole way through. Now that I'm an adult, I really want to have very little to do with either of you. Flip side is, the parent who may have 40 versus 60, yet there's peace between the parents. These children grow up and say, you know what, you gave up a little to have a lot. You didn't push here, and as a result, my life was peaceful. And when you were with me, we really enjoyed ourselves. Now that I'm an adult, I want to spend more time with you. I want you to have the opportunity to bounce your grandchildren on your knee because, you know what, our life was always delightful together. And so, again, we're concentrating on the meaningful relationship, and that gives you the end game, the lifelong relationship with your kids.
Well, it's good information, and I've been there, and we will definitely post the address at the bottom of this article. Gary, I want to thank you for joining us today and talking to us about the fallacies of the 50-50 residential arrangement and how that's sometimes detrimental to relationships. Thanks a lot, Gary.
All the best.
All right, take care. I want to thank our visitors for stopping by and watching this episode of Dad's Divorce Live. For DadsDivorce.com, I'm Rick Ortiz. Thank you.